Hi everybody again. It's time for our second cooking video. Today we're going to be making birthday beignet in honor of our birthday boy who's turning 13 tomorrow. My son's a little bit bummed to be spending this milestone birthday stuck at home with no friends and nowhere to go. So we're going to fry something for him and hopefully that will help him feel a little bit better. These are the beignets that I make every year for church, generally around Mardi Gras, sort of the traditional time in New Orleans and in French culture to eat a good beignet. It's right before the 40-day fast of Lent, which technically we're still in Lent right now, but I'm ignoring that. Really, these aren't all that sweet. They are deep fried, but because they're such a thick dough, they don't absorb a lot of oil, and the dough itself has very low sugar content. Of course, we're going to douse them in powdered sugar at the end. But anyway, moving forward, usually when I make these for church, I throw them all in my stand mixer, just everything all together, turn it on, and pull out the dough. But I wanted to do this kind of the old-fashioned way. For those of you who don't have stand mixers, it's also a good lesson in getting your hands in the dough, getting a feel for it. You're a better bread maker if you work with the dough and get to know it better. So what you're going to need for this is flour, yeast, sugar, salt, eggs, and water, and a little bit of half and half, or you could just use water if you want to avoid dairy. So, oh, and shortening or softened butter. I'll give you the measurements in a second. All right. This is 7 cups of all-purpose flour. Okay. To that, we're going to add a scant tablespoon of yeast. I found yeast on Amazon if you can't find it in the stores. This is also 1 package of yeast. Okay. Hefty pinch of salt. Some people say never mix salt and yeast. I've never had a problem with it, so sorry if you do. This is half a cup of sugar. And I'm just pouring this kind of in a little well in here. Then we're going to add our liquid ingredients. 1½ cups of room temperature water, just straight in there. And another cup of water if you want to avoid this cup of half and half, but this makes for a softer, creamier dough. Okay, then you just need 2 eggs. Again, if you have a stand mixer, put this right in the bowl of your stand mixer with the dough hook and push go. And 1/4 cup of softened butter or shortening. Shortening I just have on hand and it's nice and soft always, so it's easier to use. Okay, those are all your ingredients. Now we're just going to stir it together. It comes together pretty quickly. Now while we're stirring, I just want to say this is a pretty big recipe. We don't always go through this many beignets, believe it or not, even with 4 boys. So sometimes I'll just fry up half a batch and save the rest of the dough for another sweetbread recipe, some cinnamon rolls or something of that kind. I've even used this as a dinner roll dough because it's not really any sweeter than a regular dinner roll. So dough is really versatile, which I really like. And the reason we're doing this the evening before his birthday, I'm going to fry these in the morning, is because I like to let things rise in my refrigerator. This might be an odd idea to some folks, but a friend of mine tipped me off to this several years ago. Dough rises great in the fridge. Of course, it takes longer, but it means you can do it the night before, and in the morning your dough is ready, and you didn't have to get up at 5 in the morning like I used to do. Let it rise twice. So you could have a hot, fresh, baked goodie. So here we are. It's pretty much come together. I'm going to get in there again a little bit with my hands. Add a little bit of flour if it feels too sticky. You don't want this dough sticking all over your hands. It needs to kind of be a smooth bowl. Yeah. So here's just a little bit more flour. Again, the more you work with dough, the more you're going to get a feel for how it should be. So we're just going to fold and push down with the heel of our hands until all of that flour has been incorporated and that softened butter or shortening is going to get pushed around a bit. Yeah, for Wednesdays, I always make my dough on Tuesday and let it sit overnight. When I get there the next day, nicely risen, and cold dough is actually a lot easier to work with, to handle, to form into loaves, to roll out. It's a lot easier to roll out. It holds its shape better. So all of those are really good reasons to make your dough ahead of time. A little bit sticky still, and gives you a lot more reasons to make sweet treats in the morning if you have a bowl of dough already ready to go. Okay, so that only took about a minute of kneading to give us this nice smooth ball of dough. Okay, see, my hands are not sticking to it at all. All right, some people will clean out their bowl and spray it down with oil. This already has a lot of flour in it, so I just plop it back in there. I'm all about skipping steps. So then I'm going to put the lid on it, or saran wrap, and this is ready to go in your refrigerator until you're ready to fry. For frying, we will need just a bottle of vegetable or peanut oil, not a lot, which is another good thing about this donut recipe. It doesn't take a lot of oil. Okay, well, we'll see you in the morning. Good morning again. We are all set up to make our birthday beignet on this beautiful April morning. I have here a little hot plate, which I stole from church, and a pan of oil, just vegetable oil. Took about half a bottle of vegetable oil, or 1.5 inches of hot oil. Now this has been going for about 5 minutes, and it's now 350 degrees. If you don't have one of these little thermometers, you can take a little bit of your dough, plop it in the oil carefully, and if it starts to bubble immediately, then your oil is about hot enough. Okay, so I've already taken my dough out of the fridge. It was fully risen, and I plopped it out on my counter, and I just pushed it with my hands. It's very soft, okay, till it's about 1 inch thick. Then I took a bench cutter, and I cut strips, okay, about 1 inch, 1.5 inches. The size isn't all that important. You can make a really big beignet or a smaller one, depending on what you're in the mood for. They take the same amount of time to cook, which is not long once they get in the hot oil. So when they're done, you're going to have a pan here with powdered sugar, okay? Nice thick layer. Those are going to go on a paper towel lined plate first to drain just a little bit, and then into the powdered sugar. So hot oil, we're going to cut these just about 1 inch. So you have these nice little squares. We call them powdered sugar pillows because they puff up really nicely. Okay, so I'm looking at this little square like this. It's going to probably double in size. So we're going to gently lay them in the hot oil. Okay, those are sizzling right away. You can see the bubbles. Okay, just be careful to lay them gently. Don't ever throw things in hot oil. It'll splash. Now these are going to start turning brown, and they actually flip themselves over a lot of the time, which is fun to watch. The yeast kind of pushes them, they flip over. If they don't flip, you can nudge them over with a tong or a spoon. So I'm going to fit about 12 in here. And you can see this one already is nice and golden brown. They take about 30 seconds to cook all the way. Which is great. So as those cook, I'm going to cut a few more. All right. So these I'm going to go ahead and pull out of the hot oil. Nice deep golden brown. You want to let them get fairly brown or else they can be a little doughy in the middle, okay? So this is what we're looking at. Okay, put them on the paper towel. They really are not a very greasy donut. A cake donut is going to soak up so much oil as it fries, but this hardly soaks up any. Healthy, right? Okay. So those are done. Once they have sat for just a minute on the paper towel, we will throw the whole batch right into our powdered sugar. Okay, let me toss them around a little bit. And that is your end result. Okay, it's really hot, so be careful, but don't wait too long because these are definitely best straight out of the oil. I'm going to go find my birthday boy, and hopefully we'll have a good day. And I hope you will too. Give these a try. You'll love them.